¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Aquí les saluda Rafico. Yo estoy bien, espero que ustedes mucho mejor. Al día de hoy le traemos otro video reacción, el cual nos va a estar enseñando cómo hacer una máscara de Dr Doom. Ya se acerca el canal. El Halloween y es una muy buena alternativa. Va, dale play. La máscara de Dr Doom.
Hi friends, Steve here at SKS Props, and in today's build video, I bring you Doom. Well, Dr. Doom, that is. And that's because I've heard some rumblings and rumors out there that Dr. Doom is going to be the next big villain in the MCU, so I figured why not go ahead, make a mask for anyone that would like to cosplay him. Now, unlike some of my other builds that are out there like Chainsaw Man, this build is not super difficult, it's not super detailed. The thing that makes this kind of a challenge is that the build has to be exceptionally clean, and the paint job has to look really, really good. It has to look
Se ve demasiado increíble, tan los detalles, todo. Genial.
quick shot of the prototype I used to make the base templates.
Eso es goma eva, se lo conoce acá. Es posible de que solamente con eso quede tan realista, miren, pero así en crudo obviamente se ve súper que no tan atractivo.
Part A is going to be traced and cut out of some 6mm foam. Part B is going to make up the lower lip, and this is also traced and cut out of 6mm foam. This is then glued onto the back of Part A, and you can see there's a very slight overlap. His nose is going to be Part C, and this is cut out of some 4mm foam. With this piece, I'm also going to need to sand a groove down the middle and taper each side.
Pero mira cómo trabaja detalle, es un Dremel, brother, qué detallado, o sea, esto no es un hobby, bro, esto es un acción, qué amor que trabaja.
The middle of this piece was sanded so I can add a bend to it, before to keep this shape, I'm going to put in some super glue. I can now trace around Part C and glue it onto the face. Part D is going to make up his lower eye details, and these sections are going to be cut out of 4mm foam. These pieces are glued on while the mask is slightly rounded so that it retains this curve. For his eyebrows, I'm going to transfer Part E onto some 6mm foam 2 times. Just like the under eye detail, the mask is slightly curved while these are glued into place. To make up the top of the mask, Part F is going to be cut out of some 6mm foam. And just like the other pieces, I'm keeping the curve while gluing this into place. Part G is going to make up the side of the mask, and this is also cut out of some 6mm foam. Just match the curve from the top. You could also make this piece longer if you wanted more of the side of your face covered up. For his chin, I'm going to take Part H and cut that out of some 10mm foam. This piece is traced around and then glued onto the bottom of Part B. Part I is going to be 6mm foam, and this is going to make up his jaws. This piece is going to glue to the side of Part H, but behind Part...
Para hacer algo así de ley tiene que ser con un material grueso, ya sea goma eva o cartón, creo que también quedaría, por cómo hay que pegar una pieza con otra, filo con filo, o sea, y si es muy delgada no va a lograrse, vaya pues a compactar con la otra pieza, porque tiene que tener más o menos su proporción, su volumen para que pueda agarrar.
Part A. This layered effect with the foam is a cool trick because it really gives the mask an overall depth.
Hasta ahí ya va. Para mí ahí ya estaría bien. La pinto y ya. Con eso tengo para joder el fin de año. Fin de año. El 31, pa.
Parts J and K are both cut out of 2mm foam. Part K is going to be a bunch of individual strips. Now, you don't have to do this for your mask if you don't want to. I just wanted the additional detail for the sides. These strips are individually cut out, slightly sanded, and then sealed with a heat gun. All of these strips can then be glued onto Part J. Now I decided I wanted the cheeks to have a sunken feel, so I cut some strips of 6mm foam to match the thickness of part I. These are then glued around the cheek section, so it's going to give me the same depth on the back side. With these in place, I can now glue the layered sections of J and K to the back of the mask.
¿Se dan cuenta lo que quiero, de lo que les estoy hablando, de cómo cuida cada detalle? Yo pensé que simplemente iba a pegar ya esa pieza y ya no, tengo que pegarle otra piecita para que le dé más volumen, o sea, más profundidad a esta parte de aquí y no sea completamente, bueno, no nada llana, pero para que tenga mucho más volumen.
You've seen me do this trick quite a bit, but to help retain the curve of the mask, I'm going to cut a strip out of 4mm foam. This is going to be glued into place while the mask is curved and will prevent it from going flat. Part L is going to be used to detail the front of the chin, and this is cut out of some 6mm foam. Just like the cheeks, the mouth needs a small strip of 6mm foam to remain the same depth. His mouth detail is part M and cut out of some 4mm foam. This piece is going to be glued to part N, which is a small section of 2mm foam. And you can see here how it gives the lower section of the mask multiple layers of depth. Didn't really like the point at the top of the nose, so I pulled it up and tucked it under. Using a pencil, I started to mark exactly where I wanted my rivets.
Pero pana, eso. Yo no sé cómo voy a hacer eso porque así de tantas herramientas no tengo. En serio.
To go. I'm going to use a 5/32 hollow hole punch to make some fake rivets.
Pero date cuenta, no le bastó coger bolitas, no, él tuvo que hacer un sacabocado, creo que se llama eso, sacabocado y hacer lo que vendrían a ser al detalle de los remaches.
Rivets out of 2mm foam. Some Bob Smith super glue is added to each one of the dots I had made for the rivets placement. This is definitely the most time-consuming part of the build, but these little rivets all over the mask give it that iconic Dr. Doom look. And nothing says you have to follow my pattern, so for your mask, put the rivets wherever you'd like. With the fabrication of the mask complete, I can now do a quick heat treatment before priming and painting.
Ahí ya es suficiente. Ahí ya está. Para mí ahí ya está. Yo me pongo una de esas aquí, brother, y va a ser increíble, Ahí, en ese nivel. Ahora imagínate con lo que falta. Que faltan todavía como 5 minutos.
Glue a scrap piece of foam to the back. This will act as a handle while I spray 2 light coats of plastic.
Eso es para... Ay. Yo dije, ¿pero qué?
After the Plasti Dip had cured, I'm going to do a very light spray of Rust-Oleum Flat Antique Nickel. This is going to prep the surface and give us a base before I do the hand painting. And to start that process, I'm going to use some Liquitex Iridescent Rich.
Esa técnica que está utilizando se llama pátina. Es para dar un efecto envejecido metálico, un metálico envejecido. Ahí lo que hace, por ejemplo, pintó de negro, le dio una pequeña capa de plateado. Y ahora con la pintura acrílica y la brocha lo que hace es mojas, secas la brocha, quitas toda la pintura, que quede el exceso de pintura y que quede mínimo humectada el pincel. Y le bajando así, capas para darle así un efecto como de corroído, de envejecido.
Silver. A 1-inch mop brush is going to be used to apply the paint, and I'm going to use absolutely no water. This pigment...
¿Se dan cuenta? No está el pincel así tan encharcado de pintura, ¿no? Tiene un mínimo de pintura para que no ocupar tanto espacio, la superficie de la máscara.
Is going to be applied to the mask by kind of using a dry brush technique, while every now and then going back and stippling the surface to alleviate the brush strokes. And here you can see the power of paint between the base color and a little bit of Liquitex heavy body acrylics.
también le ayuda a contrastar y darle un efecto luz y sombra más natural y mejor estéticamente, visualmente se va a ver mucho mejor.
As an additional highlight on the mask, I'm going to use some
Es
iridescent
pintura
bright
acrílica,
silver.
¿no?
This pigment is applied more selectively in places that I know would receive a highlight. As a contrast to the mask, I really want these rivets to pop, so I'm going to be using some Silver Leaf Rub and Buff. This is a wax-based product and is applied to the head of each rivet using a shop towel.
Qué detalle, en serio, qué detalle.
Because it's in the shadows, I also applied this to the mouth detail to help it stand out.
Debo de hacerlo. Voy a ver si hago esa.
To make this mask wearable, I cut two
Material.
strips of...
Tengo que hacerlo, pero el material si no sé cuál sería mejor. Como lo que tendría más al alcance.
1-inch elastic, approximately 11 inches each. And I'm going to use some tri-glide so these straps are fully adjustable. Now this is a process you've seen me use on almost all my masks, and it's because it works so well. Some 1-inch upholstery foam is hot glued into the forehead section, and this mask is complete.
Pero según mi experiencia, esa silicona no soporta tanto. Yo le pondría alguna otra cosa, no sé, una grapa o algo, porque yo sé, yo ya me he pasado esas cosas de pegar solamente con algún tipo de pegamento, esa vaina y se va saliendo. Increíble, brother, increíble. Y hasta aquí el video de hoy, mi gente. Dime qué tal te pareció. Déjame tu comentario en la caja de comentarios. Y si te gustó, no te olvides de darle like, suscribirte y compartir. Y me vas a ayudar a seguir creciendo. Y yo me despido como siempre. Buena vibra, gente. Chao.